Welcome to the What Bitcoin Did podcast.
Hi there, welcome to the 12th episode of the What Bitcoin Did podcast. I hope you're all well. I am recording this intro after just watching an epic 12-minute green candle on the Bitcoin chart, which I expect a lot of you saw today, which was really nice to see after the last couple of months of quite depressing retracement on the Bitcoin chart and most alts falling. Also quite fitting, as this week I am back to the roots with a podcast interview with a trader. When I was in Washington, I was lucky to meet up with one of my favourite traders, a chap by the name of Josh Olszewicz, who some of you will probably know better as Carpe Noctem. I really enjoyed this chat. It was good to get back to discussing trading, especially with how rubbish the market has been recently, especially for someone like me who only plays the long side of the market. And it was good just to start discussing what's going on with Bitcoin and the pricing and how Josh sees things panning out, as he is quite an experienced trader, as he's been in the market for a few years. If you don't know Josh, I would definitely recommend checking out his YouTube tutorials, which are something I've used myself and learnt a lot from. He really is an experienced trader. He knows a lot about the market, and he's really calm and really good at playing both the long and the short sides, something I know myself I need to improve at. Also, go and check him out on Twitter. He has loads of good advice, and he's just one of my favourite people to follow. So yeah, go and check him out, and I will include all links to his social channels in the show notes. As ever, please do support the show. It really is important. It really does help. You can go and leave us a review on iTunes, and hopefully that would be 5-star, but only if you think the show deserves it. You can follow me on any social channel, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Medium, or Steemit. My handle on each one is at What Bitcoin Did, and feel free to reach out to me. I do try and get back to everyone on anything which isn't nonsense. So yeah, please do reach out. You can check out my website. It's www.whatbitcoindid.com and sign up to my email alerts. I am also working on a series of tutorials for new investors in the space, which will handhold them step by step through every step of the process of becoming an investor. So hopefully that will be out there soon. And please do share the show out on social media with your friends. It really, really does help. Lastly, if you want to become a sponsor, that will also help the show. I mentioned last week I've just taken on my first, which is Trade.io, which I'll be talking more about in May. But if you're interested in sponsoring the show, please do reach out to me. So let's move on to the interview with Josh. I do hope you all enjoy this. There's definitely some good nuggets of information in there, some stuff I've been following up on following the chat I had with him. And if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out to me. My email address is hello@whatbitcoindid, and I do try and get back to everyone. So over to the show, over to Josh, and yes, I hope you enjoy this. Right, hi Josh. We got here today, finally.
We did.
Thank you so much for sparing time with me. So we've had quite a depressed crypto market for the
Don't use that word. Don't use the word depressed. That puts a connotation on it. I mean, if you're bearish, you love this market, right?
Well, I guess because I'm not bearish and I'm never sure. Yeah. It's just depressed for me. But you changed your name on Twitter to 33K by July.
I did.
So are we going to hit 33K by July? What's the background to this?
Sure, let me explain it for some people who probably are unaware. So everyone always asks me, just because I'm super public about where I think things are going, where's the target? What's the target? When? So I thought, all right, let's just cut that off at the pass. Let's make my handle literally 33K by July. That way people will know where I stand. So this happened pre-January. It was just 33K, and then it broke basically a technical level to the point where it clearly wasn't going to happen before January 2018. So then I thought, okay, there's another chance for that based on technicals to hit by July. So it's still possible, as unlikely as it may feel at the moment, sitting here today, Bitcoin at less than 7,000, I think.
Yeah, but again, like last year when Bitcoin was like $1,000, 20K looked unlikely. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a little different now. I mean, there's so many things going on. I think people discount or discredit the tax issue. Yes, it's the worldwide thing as far as Bitcoin, and taxes are mainly just Americans are dealing with that right now, but everybody's dealing with taxes to some degree.
Well, is this, so for other people to understand who aren't based in America, is this a one time a year tax thing? It happens once a year?
Correct,
One
yeah.
go?
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
okay. So
you basically have to declare all your capital gains, which is what these are. And for many people, including myself, this is the first time where they're declaring a very large amount based on last year's trading. So
right. So you think that's a contributing factor? People have declaring the taxes, having to pay, so they're having to liquidate.
Right. So if I'm talking about myself, and I haven't calculated my taxes yet, but that's coming up. If I owe a certain amount of money, like let's say, for example, 20 to 50 grand, I don't have that in my bank account. Everything I own is in crypto. So,
right.
So what do I have to do to pay that? I have to sell crypto, and that causes an increase in supply, a decrease in demand, and just a general broad sense that's, I think, in some degree contributing to this. It's not the sole factor, but.
And what else do you think is contributing to this?
So before the run up to this, it was in the cards that this whole quarter was going to be a down quarter. This quarter, generally, over the past 3 years, the first quarter of the year has just been a down quarter. Last year, it was China banning everything, if everybody remembers that or not. That caused a huge spike down. And you're right, at that time, if you would have told me that in January that we'd hit 20K, I'd say, you're full of crap, right? But it still happened.
I remember actually because when I first started, I remember when we hit 1,000, and I set up a little Facebook group for my friends just to show them, and I screenshotted. I'll show you afterwards. And I said, I think we might even hit 2,000 this year. Yeah,
it was crazy how fast things happened towards the end, which is even retrospectively, and even when it was happening, many of us were talking about that's just how market cycles work. They're slow, they ramp, and then they get really quick, and then you get euphoria or panic, and then it's over. Which is why now, when we're seeing selling getting quicker and quicker and quicker, that's ideal for the situation to reverse, because people panic, they capitulate, they sell everything, they say, all right, I'm done, this is enough, I've lost enough. People who people who got in early 2018, for example, and in general, you're supposed to buy the bottom, sell the top. Most people do the opposite. They buy the top, sell the bottom. So all those things contribute to what is typically seen as panic-sized volumes on the chart. But so that's really what I'm watching and hoping for, because it's a clear sign. What we saw yesterday with OKEx, OKCoin.
With the... And didn't they have some guy threatened to commit suicide in front of the office?
Yeah. Apparently that's the second time he's done that, based on what they said on Twitter. But not they being OKCoin, but people who were aware of the situation. Yeah, so that basically on that futures exchange, they have a band around the price. And when price breaks that band, it's an invisible band. But when it breaks that, it goes haywire, and that's essentially what happened. So yeah, they had to roll back all those trades. So
you think we're kind of in panic mode now? We're almost having the opposite to December. It's almost like everything's an average, right? You draw an average line through. If we're gonna have a huge spike, we're gonna have the huge panic.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm expecting. It's always easier if it's super extreme. You know, even December, January wasn't that extreme, which is why I discounted it mainly as the top of everything. We didn't see this giant euphoric thing that I thought we'd see. Mm-hmm. Looking back on it, even it's not very clear. But February, we saw this massive dump, which in retrospect was related to the Mt. Gox creditor selling. Again, not solely his fault, but definitely a large contributing factor. And when you look at the chart, the volume there is just massive. The highest volume ever seen on Bitfinex was that day.
Yeah.
So that's a really good sign that there's a reversal of momentum in any sense.
So where are you plotting the bottom on this? Where are you thinking?
The bottom currently? I mean, if you're looking at things like Ethereum, they have a whole nother set of factors. It comes back to market participants, who's buying what when, who's doing what with ICOs when, what are these ICOs doing with the funds after they collect them, most of which are still holding, which is a good sign for Ethereum. But again, if we want to reach those capitulatory level of volumes, everybody has their price. And if a certain ICO says, all right, we're at $200, we raised X amount of money, we've lost 3/4 of that, what's the preservation of capital that we're going to say, here's the hard line in the sand, we're just going to sell everything?
I think I saw Ari Paul put out something today about treasury management, saying, how much should you convert into dollar? And I think it was him, and he was saying you should convert 100% of it. And if you're not going to, then do 50%, but that 50% is a gamble because you pay for pretty much everything in USD. So
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can go on about trading forever, but go ahead.
Okay, so you're saying, you didn't give me an answer where you see the bottom. I mean, one thing I've noticed in my own amateurish trading, and also another thing I'd add is that obviously I thought I was a genius most of last year, and then realised I really don't know a lot. And I think you have to go through almost like a full market cycle to really start to understand and see the cycle, signals. But one thing I've noticed over the last week, maybe 10 days, is that just a simple thing on Blockfolio, whilst Bitcoin keeps dropping, the value of my portfolio in Bitcoin has stayed about the same. So what I've noticed is a lot of the altcoins I hold maybe 15. They feel like they've hit a bottom, and different ones are pumping each day, up and down, almost like an accumulation period, because there's such low liquidity. I'll give you an example, might be NEBL or AION. It will go up 15%, drop 15%. Up 50, and my assumption there is this is accumulation, because you can't buy significant amounts of that. So I'm feeling like personally we've hit a bottom on the alts, but I'm just not sure on the Bitcoin. Yeah,
I mean, there's still, so Bitcoin's dropping in USD value and alts are static to BTC. They're still losing USD value, right?
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know how to really tackle that specifically, but I agree it'd be some sort of accumulation, you'd think, if people aren't continuing to sell alts for Bitcoin, which to some degree you shouldn't be, in my opinion. Not that this is financial advice, but but if everything is sold off 70% or more, in Ethereum's case, it's sold off 100% of that entire move after breaking that consolidation zone. It's like, the risk reward on going long instead of short here, buying instead of selling, is much higher at this point than it was, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So, yeah,
it's really hard though as well. If I'm one of those people who get sucked into Twitter and you see the different opinions. I even had a conversation with a friend today on text, my friend Tom, and we were both saying, God, it feels like I just want to sell everything now, and kind of agreed.
That's good.
Yeah, if that's good, that probably means it's going to go up tomorrow. But then also, I saw a couple of posts by, Chris Boneski put out a post today, Carl Samadi put out a post, and people were kind of saying, something's dropped 70%, but it can still drop another 50% from here. And
sure,
it does fill you with fear, but I guess there's no point selling now.
My thing was, if you didn't sell it 14 to 10K, what's the point of selling now?
Yeah.
If you think it's going to go to 3K or half from here, go for it, which we obviously could. There's nothing stopping it from doing that. But I mean, I've sold what I want to sell, and I'm done in my own funds. So
you're ready for the tax, to pay your tax. You're all good there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you've built up quite a solid reputation on Twitter,
which has been weird, but yeah, I have.
I mean, what is that? I mean, I know you're not hugely aware of my podcast. I've only been in the space for about a year, but you're one of the people that first comes up. You become aware of quite early on, and you've got nearly 100,000 followers. Do you have a background in trading, or are you one of these people who's just learned to trade crypto? Yeah,
so my background's entirely like biology, medicine, biotechnology.
Well, I saw your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I saw you currently have a role. Is that a full-time role? Or have you just not updated your LinkedIn?
Oh, you mean in we're Johns Hopkins?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like less than part-time.
Okay.
And I have this, my whole life has been like an inability to leave things. So like the job I had before that, it was just like I was there for too long. Like these are all great people, which is a good and a bad thing. Like I don't want to leave these relationships. And the thing with Hopkins is the same thing. So that's like less than 5 hours a week almost. But yes.
So crypto's your thing then? You're full-time.
Crypto, yeah, right, exactly.
But have you traded any other markets?
No.
So you just learned you just cut it in the crypto game. So when did you start? And how, the standard question, when did you first discover Bitcoin?
Sure.
When did you first start trading? And
yeah, so my big thing was I was trying to get into medicine for years. I graduated college, didn't get in right away. Had to figure out what I'm doing. Got a job in a lab. From there, I worked for a doctor for 4 years. And I had all this student debt, trying to figure out how I'm going to pay this off, while at the same time try to go to medical school. So I had this mutual fund, something like $10,000 or something, that wasn't really doing anything at the time. And I thought, okay, I should probably do something with this. I was looking at Vanguard funds at the time, which is not an ETF. What is it? I'm blanking on the type of fund, not a mutual fund, but...
Oh, you're asking somebody who's...
Yes, anyway.
You wouldn't know.
Anyway, Vanguard funds, people know what they are. So it was either that, and at the same time, I'd come across Bitcoin even before that on, so this was 2013 at that point, but on Slashdot, there were some articles about Bitcoin every once in a while. So I had heard of it, and I'd been aware of it, initially discounting it, thinking like, no one's going to buy that. It's a joke, right? And then one of my other friends started talking to me about crypto. There's this like Silverbug, was super into Litecoin at the time.
Right.
And so I just decided to go all in at 2013. It was like 500 at the time. This was around the...
So just pre-Mt. Gox.
Yeah, so pre-Mt. Gox. It was around the regulatory hearing of Congress in the United States.
Okay.
Which is really like part of that whole run-up. Yes, there was like the Willy bot, which perpetuated this constant buying motion. But in the U.S., a lot of us saw the regulatory hearing as a sign of approval from the government that this wasn't just all scammers and people buying drugs on the Silk Road, things like that.
Although we have just found out now from Snowden that the NSA were tracking Bitcoin users at the time as well, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because it's easy to do.
Yeah.
People, that's like a misnomer. People think it's anonymous. It's definitely not anonymous.
It's definitely not anonymous.
So yeah, that's when I started buying. And for some reason, I, like most of us do, we go down the rabbit hole of what the hell is this thing?
Which we all do.
Yeah. And, I'm sending money to San Francisco Coinbase, which at the time in 2012 was like, the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
But it was either that or like go to Walgreens and talk on this red phone to some exchange in Bitstamp probably at the time. But, anyway, so that's how I got started. And then I found the trading community, which was like 20 people at the time. Mm-hmm. And it just sucked me in.
Who was about in those days that is like out there now? Like I know all the names, but like who did you build relationships with early on? Yeah,
so there was Whale Club was the first,
right?
I think social thing. So it was on TeamSpeak. A big thing about trading is you're generally just by yourself, so it's always good to like bounce things off of people, especially if you don't know what the hell you're doing. So at the time, it was all about like sharing with as many people as you could who knew something more than you did. I think that's just anybody in general. If you're trying to learn something, be immersed in it and be immersed in the language and the visuals, everything. So people like Flipper, people like BTC Vix, people like Bonavest, who's come back now after losing all his money.
I was going to say, I don't know any of these names.
Yeah, no.
Are you like one of the only survivors?
They've survived, but then there's other people who haven't. I'm definitely in a minority, I think, of people who survived since 2012 onward. But if you can survive a bear market, I think you can survive anything.
So you went through the rise at the end of 2013. Mm-hmm. You experienced probably similar to what we're experiencing now, empty Gox, crash. Mm-hmm. But you didn't get wiped out. Mm-mm. So what was it like trading through those times then? Like, and what did you learn from then that is relevant now?
So I was somehow smart enough to realize most people are really bad at trading, and most people shouldn't be trading. And I was able to keep enough money aside. So, even today, I only trade like 25% of what I own on a day-to-day basis for the most part, which most people do the opposite. They go to high leverage, they trade everything, they lose everything really quick. Most people in 3 weeks, generally, 3 to 4 weeks, they just lose everything. So I was able to survive that because I believed in the technology, I believed in the fundamentals. I was watching Andreas Antonopoulos on YouTube, just like falling asleep to this stuff, like seriously drinking the Kool-Aid, I just DCA'd all the way down, so dollar cost average, just buying a little bit at a time, just based on my ability, with the funds I had at the time to buy, like paycheck to paycheck, basically.
Okay, so you experienced that. it depressed down to, was it about 2015?
Mm-hmm.
At what point for you in your training did this become something you realised it was going to be a full-time kind of job and pay your life? Because you wouldn't have been making money in 2014 really, or you would have struggled, right?
Yeah.
Not like, say, over the last 18 months.
Sure. I mean, if you can trade both sides of the book, which is long and short or whatever, you can make lots of money.
And were you then trading both sides of the book?
Yeah.
Then? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you've obviously done very well, and I've spoken to a few people, and your name always comes up as one of the most respected traders. And there's a lot of traders out there who have built a following I don't believe are good traders.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like their calls.
Sure.
I've been through yours. I've been through your videos. I followed you for a long time. What is it about you or your personality that do you think makes you a solid trader, or what is it you've learned? What are the key things?
So for anybody like looking to people on social media, trying to become something, I think the first mistake a lot of people make is instead of shutting up and listening, they're trying to become this influencer that they're not, this like thought leader that they're not.
Yeah.
It's like I virtually did nothing on social media for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And then I just started, I got this from Gary Vee, but instead of just trying to create something, just document what you're doing. That's all I'm doing constantly every day, even on Twitter and YouTube still. So I think just my ability to take in information and look at complex systems, be able to critically think what's going on here. How do I apply a knowledge set? I don't know. I don't know. People like me for some reason. Honestly, I don't really know. But
Well, you seem like a really nice guy as well. I'm going to say
thank
you're like a big smile since we've got here. So
yeah, I mean, I just I'll meet anybody, which is probably not a smart thing to do. But
well, I'm not here to murder you. As
yeah, that's good.
Des was the test.
Yeah, I don't really know. Trading is definitely not for everybody. I'm really like even keel emotionally too, which I hate talking about like the psychology and emotions behind things, especially initially when I got into trading. I was like, I'm here to trade. I'm not here to talk about therapy and whatever. But that's a huge part of trading, is emotions and psychology and dealing with that. Definitely.
Well, I would say I've pretty much kept my emotions intact with it until the last about 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks I've found a real test. So I've been through some of your videos, and they're pretty good. And you said most people shouldn't be traders.
Sure.
And Luke, my very first interview, said most shouldn't be traders. Most should just buy some Ethereum, some Bitcoin, and just sit on it.
Yeah.
The problem is you get sucked in.
That's right, you do.
And everyone wants to be a trader. Yeah. So there is a lot to learn.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you a few questions. Firstly, TA, FA, where's the balance for you?
Yeah. So in general, fundamental analysis tells you what to buy. TA tells you, technical analysis tells you when to buy. That's just like the stereotypical cliche thing people say.
I've never heard it said like that.
Oh, okay.
which is great.
Yeah. So I wouldn't even be in this space if it wasn't for a technology, which is the ability to transfer money anywhere you want in the world, virtually for free, at any time of day. Being in crypto and then going into the real world and trying to do stuff. It's like, why isn't this on the blockchain yet? Anytime you go to the government and try to do something, get something done, it's like, why do I have to come to a physical location to do certain things? It doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So I saw just this huge potential for that.
Okay.
And I have zero financial background, as we discussed, so it wasn't like I thought I'd become a millionaire or anything. It was just like, this is a cool thing that's new, and it was super interesting, different than anything I've done in my background. So fundamentally, it was looking good. Sorry, what were we talking about?
FA or TA, yeah.
So I hate talking about FA because I'm not very good at it, I feel. So I write for Brave New Coin. And,
yeah, I've read some of your articles.
Yeah, so they most people like FA, fundamental analysis, versus TA, because some people see TA as like tea leaf reading, which is fine. Like I'm not here to argue that.
Yeah.
But most people like to read the FA over TA. So I write the FA as well as the TA. But for me, it's kind of dull, and like I'm in it and I get it. So I don't know.
So
for me, the TA is much more important.
Right, but you use the FA to say whether you're interested in a product or not.
Correct.
If you
much more important for ICOs and altcoins, things like that.
Yeah.
Then for me, Bitcoin is, people call me Bitcoin maximalist, whatever, that's fine. But
are you? Because you talk about other coins, I don't see you as a Bitcoin maximalist.
I mean, I'll trade anything with a chart. So I'm not like beholden to one thing, but I'm not like going to hold Ethereum like I'm going to hold Bitcoin. I definitely believe Bitcoin can weather storms that maybe Ethereum could not. So,
well, yeah. So it's like if people say, that question, if you were going to hold something for 10 years, what would you hold?
Mm-hmm.
I still only got two.
Mm-hmm.
I always say Bitcoin and Monero.
Okay.
They're the two I like. There's nothing else I could say I would hold for 10 years. There's other things I do like. I mean, I kind of like Litecoin. I do. I like things about Ethereum, but there's a lot that concerns me about it as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Bitcoin, what is the only one you'd hold for 10 years?
Probably. I mean, my current portfolio is like 5 or 6 things, but most of that I'm not holding for a long period of time. Like, I'd love to hold Monero in a hardware wallet, but I can't. So it's really the rate limiting factor for me.
So did you see Ricardo Fluffy Pony tweeted today a screenshot of the Monero symbol on the ledger Nano S?
And that's huge.
Yeah,
because like I've talked about elsewhere, just general custody reasons that without a hardware wallet solution, people aren't going to hold it like they hold certain other things. Even like at an institutional level, they can't hold certain amounts of capital on exchanges, just period.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
So you will only trade things that you can have on a hardware wallet?
No, so I'll trade anything.
Right, okay.
I'll hold have to be hardware wallet ready, because I'm not going to leave the amount of money on an exchange that I'm willing to hold in the hardware wallet.
Yeah,
especially with what we've been through, Gox, Stamp, Bitfinex, just the list goes on and on and on. So.
Yeah. And even Binance recently, although they seem to do a great job of dealing with that.
Yeah, but, I mean, that was something else. More of like BitThumb or whatever.
But it's more that people are trying to attack all of these,
Right.
They're all at risk, at some element of risk.
As they should. I mean, it's a giant honeypot. I can't blame somebody for trying to hack an exchange. It is what it is. Don't hate the player, hate the game, in my opinion.
Okay.
If it's a bank that has no security, someone's going to try to rob it. Regardless of your moral standing, like, yes, it's theft, yes, it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, and I've actually, similar to just to life, like I went up to the gas station earlier and they've got a big glass screen, with bullet holes in it. And I guess there's relevant security for relevant things in life.
Yeah.
Okay, so FA to choose what to pick, TA when to buy what to pick.
Right.
And I've studied and bought books, and I've read a lot of books on trading, and I still get overwhelmed, right?
Sure.
So there are a lot of indicators.
Mm-hmm.
In your world, what indicators are you looking at? And if a new investor was coming... No, we'll come to the new investors in a minute. What are the most important indicators? Like, what are you looking at first and foremost? And
Sure. So the most important thing for me is that I'm as impartial as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, that means I'm looking at things on a chart that draw themselves. So I'm not relying on things like Elliott waves, or I can readjust. Chart patterns work really well most of the time, but they can also be adjusted. So I try to avoid that as much as possible as far as like analysis. I'm always looking for trends, which is another thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is highly personality based, which I didn't really know about initially, but some people like trading in and out very quickly, scalping. Some people like holding for extended periods of time. Some people are intraday. This all kind of depends on who you are, which is weird, but that's just the way it pans out generally. So for me, I like getting in a trend. I like being in an established trend. So I look for indicators and gravitate towards those sort of things, which is why I've become famous for like Ichimoku Cloud, which I don't really know how it happened, other than like in a mimetic way, where it's like people saw me using it, and then other people saw other people using it, and then I don't know, honestly.
like everyone's using it now.
Yeah, everybody does use it, and I don't have a private group. I don't go out of my way to say like, follow me, do this, blah blah blah. Like, I don't care, but a lot of people started using it, so either it works or people are able to follow how I explain it or something. There's some connection there that I don't really understand. I don't know.
So is that the first thing you look at then, the cloud?
Yeah, for me personally, the cloud. It's all about the cloud. Like, I look at the naked chart, I look at volume, and I look at cloud, because cloud will tell me the trend. So it literally means like looking at something at a glance.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows you to go for multiple time frames, multiple coins, stocks, whatever you want to look at. Just boom, 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 boom. You can look at it and say, I have a pretty good idea of what's going on here.
Because I've looked at the cloud
Uh-huh.
and I've found it quite a complex.
It is.
You know, when I started out, you're looking at horizontal support.
yeah, which is another
Quite-
good, like, I don't want to discount or discredit that, those sort of things. Those are hugely important and
Yeah.
very easy to pick up on.
Very easy. And
Yeah.
I've looked at the cloud and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
So for a new trader coming in,
Mhm.
would you advise they learn the cloud pretty quickly? And are you finding with the cloud yourself that it is giving you very good information?
So yes to both.
Okay.
The other thing with the cloud is there are a lot of parts to it. There are a lot of complex things, but once you know what the checklist is as far as entries and exits, once you get it, you get it. It's not
Right.
like, it doesn't like vacillate as far as what it means. Like, it's very clear, cut and dry. Whether or not you apply that yourself and pay attention and listen to what the cloud is telling you is another story. But that's one of the reasons why I started using it. It gave me a lot of information very quickly, and it didn't joke around or mess me up. You know, the cloud is honestly rarely wrong. It's whether or not you trade the cloud, what the cloud's trying to tell you.
So whether you believe it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like the drop from 14,000. So if it's on top of the cloud, it's bullish. If it's underneath, it's bearish. As soon as we dropped to 14,000, it was bearish. You should have sold everything. That's what the cloud is telling you.
Did you?
No, I did sell some. I did sell some.
So why did you sell everything? If it told you-
Because at the same time you're battling this holder mindset, which is me. Okay. And the other thing is I only trade 25%, 50, no more than 50% ever at once. I'm quote unquote trading. Okay.
Do you mean of your capital?
Right. So
Right,
let's say
okay.
you have 2,000 bitcoins. You're trading 25 to 50% of that actively. Most of it I don't is just passive management. You know, it's not.
Oh, so when you say 25%, you mean 25% of your crypto. So you've got up.
Right.
So,
Right.
so say you had 100 Bitcoin, 25 is to play with, and the rest is just sat there for
Right.
the long term.
Right.
Because in 10 years' time, you believe over a long enough
Sure.
time frame, Bitcoin will be huge.
Sure, you can say it's a hedge. You can say like you're protecting yourself from yourself. You're protecting yourself from drawdown of bad trading. You know, whatever. You know,
Right.
that's just my own personal viewpoint.
Right, I
That's the way it
understand.
is.
Not 25% of, like, it's not like USD. Not like you've got 100,000. All right, I'm only gambling. I am gambling. I'm only investing 25%. But it feels like a gamble sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
So yes, cloud is very valuable, especially to new people. There's a checklist. Once you know X, Y, Z, it's pretty clear.
right. Okay.
Yes, it's daunting and intimidating initially.
Yes.
I completely agree. Which is one of the reasons I was drawn to it, because I was like, I don't understand this. What the heck's going on?
Yeah.
Ichimoku Cloud, it's a different language completely.
Well, Crypto Cred,
Yeah.
he has a tutorial on it. Is a
Yeah.
big fan of it as well.
Well, it's great. I'm glad you bring him up, but because people like him and Ledger Status,
Yeah.
both of them learn the cloud in some respects through me.
Right. Okay.
I'm not like bragging or like owning them, but I'm just saying like that's good, because in my mind that says that people find my stuff valuable and useful in some way. They were able to apply it themselves and get real results. So
But it's a real standout indicator, though. If you're on Twitter, you just see these clouds constantly existing, people
Yeah.
constantly showing them. And I don't know, I've not, because I did find it scary. And also, there's different ways to set up the cloud, right?
yeah, there is.
So how's your setup?
Well, my argument is that it's time based. So if you look at how the guy Ichimoku Gasoda, I'm completely butchering his name.
Yeah.
His whole like theory and background is all about relativity and time and things like that. The way I took it was that it was applied to traditional markets, which are 9 to 5 and not 24/7.
Yeah.
Crypto's it's the first market that I'm aware of that doesn't close ever. You know, it's never closed.
Doesn't the oil market not close, but it flips at midnight or something? I thought there was another market.
You mean in crypto or something else?
No, I think oil.
Yeah, I mean there are things that aren't open 24/7 but close. Almost nothing is open 24/7. I'm sure there's something that I'm just not aware of.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of things like Forex is open most of the time, but it's also closed like on the weekends. You know, for like 72 hours or something, 48 hours.
And things close today because it's Good Friday, right?
Right. So if there's holidays, like Christian holidays, if things are closed. If there's banking holidays, things are closed. There's banking holidays on different countries, so things are closed. But that's not the case in crypto.
Okay, so to continue, it's time-based.
In my opinion, it's time-based. So what I was seeing was that things lined up better with alternative settings based on what I was looking for. So honestly, the settings are the least important for most people. As long as you know what it's trying to tell you, it'll work. But for me, these specific settings, both forward testing and back testing, so literally trading through it and looking back on it, were always better.
And is there a liquidity thing here? Like, can you use the cloud on any crypto, or does it have to have a certain amount of liquidity to make it work?
So liquidity, for me, like liquidity and time frame are very closely related. So if something is high in volume, very liquid, I can go to a much lower time frame and look at things. But in general, higher time frames always win. So regardless of liquidity. So yes, it'll work for anything. But if there's gaps in candles and things, like every indicator is going to break down. It's always better if there's things going on. Things are happening.
Okay.
And it's always looking for a trend, which is the most important thing. If markets are sideways and not moving, it's going to be very noisy, very indifferent as far as what it's trying to tell you, things like that.
So what's the cloud telling you about Bitcoin at the moment?
So since it broke, I think it was 14,000, I'd have to look at the chart, but whatever it was on the cloud, this is something I should have been listening to more as someone who's literally like the cloud pope, like the preacher of the cloud. Since it broke that level, it's all been bearish, everything.
Yeah.
So there's this other thing where price always tries to return to the mean of the movements of the price action, right? So the mean has been very high above Bitcoin for a little while after it dropped very quickly, and then it tested the mean twice and failed. So that was another huge sign that things are ready to turn south again. It returns to the mean, it sees it as resistance, and then it falls down. That's again something that I could have traded a little better. At the time, there was another reversal chart pattern, so there was a huge potential for us to take off, and we just didn't. People think TA is either two things. It's either 100% accurate, or it just tells you that things are going to go up or down. When in reality, it's all about probability, and it's all about if-then statements. So if things happen, then this is more likely to happen. If this breaks a certain level, then it's going to do this. So when I'm looking at these levels, I'm always thinking, if it breaks this is going to happen. If it doesn't, this is going to happen.
Right.
Which sounds like I'm saying it could go either way.
But it can go either way. Right.
But people people want a cut and dry answer, and so do I. My background is science. All I want is black or white. Okay, I want evidence, and I want a conclusion that's reasonable based on the evidence.
But you wouldn't have a market then.
What do you mean? No, but you're right.
A market is essentially
buyers and sellers coming to an agreement.
Yeah, and it's a battle, right?
Yeah,
it's not everyone can win.
Right.
And if it was that easy,
everybody would be doing it.
Yeah, everyone would do it. But then if everyone knew what was going to happen, I believe the market would hit equilibrium. There'd be no money to be made.
Sure.
The money's to be made is better knowledge or better predictions.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. And when we're talking about FA versus TA, that's the same thing. These outside market events are directly impactful on the market, which is the high reason why I don't trade Forex a lot of the time, just because there's all these announcements that I was unaware of that just move the market.
But we get that in crypto as well.
Yeah, we do, definitely. But I can't really plan for that as well as I can plan for TA.
Right. Okay. So if TA is so important, there's like 1,500 coins we can trade.
Yeah.
Do you pretty much sit in a small group that you're happy to trade because you just understand the TA? Like, or are you out hunting for gems and 100x's and whatever?
Yeah, so that's a big question.
Yeah.
So for alts in general, for myself, I think that I'm more of an investor, less of a trader. So I'm looking 3 to 6 months. Like, I don't care where it goes. I don't care the lows. I don't care if it goes to zero. I'm just going to hold it. I think it's going to do something.
Right.
Like XRP. I hate XRP. I think XRP is garbage. But at the same time, last year, I was holding XRP, just waiting for something to happen because it just seemed like, again, fundamentally something was going to happen. The technicals didn't look great, but fundamentally things were happening. So, and what happened? It exploded. It went to $3, right?
And now it's about 60 cents.
Something like 52 cents. But
if it goes under 50, like a lot of people saying, if XRP goes under 50 cents, that's a buy. And there's people who bought it, $3.60?
I mean, it can't go below zero, right?
Right.
That's what I tell you.
But will it come back? That's the thing. You know, because like XRP is, if you forget things like BitConnect, XRP is something that divides people.
It does. I mean, it's very controversial. It's centralized, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not distributed.
Yeah. It's not a cryptocurrency.
It's something. I don't know what it is. I wouldn't necessarily call it a cryptocurrency. People are going to disagree with that, obviously, but
it's a ledger.
Sure, but you can trade the chart. You don't have to worry about the stuff behind it. You need to know. You need to be aware and abreast of the situation and realize what you're getting into.
But these charts won't trade forever, right? Because we're still in this kind of speculative. What is crypto? I say loosely because we're saying XRP isn't crypto. XRP isn't going to every year forever do something.
It might not. It's not BitConnect. I know it's not like a Ponzi pyramid scheme. It's borderline scammy, but the FX traders love it, which is interesting. They trade XRP over Bitcoin, as far as I can tell. I think it has a lot to do with like integer bias. So it's back and forth around $1.
Right. Okay.
People can buy thousands of it at a time, whatever.
It regularly comes up when you meet somebody who's very new to crypto.
Uh-huh.
It's almost the first. Like, I've met a bunch of people doing this podcast, and a common thing I find is like, "How'd you get into crypto?" And a big surprise for me is people who say to me, "Oh, Doge. I discovered Doge. I didn't know anything about Doge when I got into crypto." New people coming in, they're like, "So I've heard about Ripple. Should I buy Ripple?" And I'm always like, "No, don't buy it." In hindsight, I wish I'd bought it last year at 25 cents. I did buy it at something like half a cent, like whatever the low price was back in Feb last year.
Uh-huh.
Did very well of it. Only put a few £100s in, so it didn't make much of a difference. But so would you say XRP's a buy now? What's a buy target for it?
I would say let it go to wherever it's going to go. I'm not holding any currently.
Right.
So the other thing with XRP back in whatever it was before it made the run up to $3, there was a lot of chatter in my circles of people saying like, "Oh, this bouncer at a club is asking me about XRP.
Mm-hmm.
This waitress and waiter, whatever, in London, in Vegas, in Texas, all these people who are not normal market participants. All the while, the chart is showing me clear consolidation, ready to move. So to me, that was a sign that something was going to happen, even beyond just the integer bias. People seeing it. People seeing it on CoinMarketCap. It's less than $1. Bitcoin's at 1,000. It can go somewhere,
That's been its genius.
Right.
It's the most genius thing about it not from our perspective, from the creator's perspective, is it's seen as cheap.
Right.
And you'll go on Reddit and say, yeah, but this could hit 20,000 like Bitcoin.
Right.
And you're like, have you any idea about market caps?
Right, exactly.
Any idea what that means?
Supply, distribution, any of that stuff.
But it did go up to 360 last year.
It did.
An insane move.
And that's, you could say Bitcoin's the same, but that's supply demand. It was on a lot of newsletters that normal people who aren't market participants brought them in, And the other thing about XRP, it's not easy to buy. It's not on Coinbase. You have to sign up for an altcoin exchange, or get an OTC, over the counter. You can't just go at any street corner and buy it. So the other thing was, like, I'm seeing all these people trying to buy it and talking about it, and they haven't bought in yet. And that was another sign that, like, things are going to happen for XRP.
And also, I think everyone expected it to come on Coinbase. It hasn't. But I think everyone expected it to.
Yeah, my hypothesis is that it will end up there eventually.
I think it was. I think they had to. I think it was going to. In my mind, I imagine they pulled it just because of everything that happened with Bitcoin Cash coming on and the lens on insider trading and issues of that. I think I would guess they planned for it and it didn't happen, and they're just one day it's going to out of nowhere just pop and appear.
I think they clearly planned for a bunch of ERC20 tokens back in December as well.
Yeah,
but seeing this bear market has sort of like they pumped the brakes on that a little bit. I think.
So
plus the Bitcoin Cash fiasco.
Are you buying any ERC20 tokens, expecting them to be on Coinbase? Like I've got my, like I'll tell you mine first, and then you go. I think ZRX.
Yeah.
I think BAT, although some people have come back and said no.
Sure.
And I think potentially OMG.
Okay.
They're my three that like, and I own ZRX. I don't have BAT at the moment. I have before, and I don't have OMG. But they're the three I would say. Are you buying anything based on expectation?
So back in October, November, I forget when Consensus Invest in New York was. At that time, I was talking about ZRX because I became aware of who was on the team, who was on the advisor team. It's all just like people networking with people. So there's Linda, who used to be in Coinbase, who's now in a hedge fund. Her husband is like the head dev of ZRX.
Mm-hmm.
There's Fred Ursum, who is also on the advisory board for ZRX. And then there's, what's his name? Olaf something.
Carson Wee?
Yeah, Carson Wee. So he was like one of the first Coinbase employees.
Yeah.
He's since left for a hedge fund, Polychain Capital, who famously has a giant bag of ZRX.
Mm-hmm.
So for those reasons, I think it's definitely going to end up on Coinbase.
It's funny though, because it's essentially for creating decentralized exchanges,
right?
And then it would end up on a centralized exchange. Ironic and kind of like, are they hedging their bets there? Or
yeah, so there's two thoughts on that. Either they're going to list ZRX, or they're going to list things that would be listed on the ZRX decentralized exchanges. Either way, I was bullish on ZRX before the Coinbase thing, but this is just like adding to the evidence because, as we were talking about with the exchange hacks, I think decentralized exchanges eventually will have their place
if they can get liquidity.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I listened to an interview with can't remember his name, the guy from ZRX. I think it was Laura Shin's podcast,
Unchained or something.
Yeah, it was a really good interview with him, and they were talking about. But I'm a holder, so Okay, so
yeah, ZRX, BAT, OMG, all those are fine plays. I think we saw movements very clearly when the announcement came out, like what people thought was going to be listed.
Yeah, definitely. But then some of them you got to look and say, would that potentially be considered a security? Yeah. And I think OMG survived because it was an airdrop, right? It wasn't an ICO. Am I right in thinking that?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, because that is a risk.
Yeah.
You know, if something is considered like if you're not an ICO, if you didn't do an ICO, you're not a security.
Sure.
I actually, funny enough, I really like the idea of BAT. I like the idea of rewards based on advertising.
Yeah, because we're content creators, and your background, you said, is advertising.
Yeah. Well, it's funny enough, when I quit advertising, I actually wrote an article. I used to have an agency, and it was called Online Advertising Doesn't Work. I'll share it with you. You can have a read. Tell me what you think. It was essentially my Jerry Maguire moment, but more of a suicide note, and ended up quitting advertising because most of it doesn't actually fucking work. God, I think that's the first time I've sworn on my own podcast. But most of it doesn't. It just doesn't work. I was having to go into client meetings, and we were lying about stuff or changing the narrative. Uh-huh. So I really like the idea of BAT. I think I don't know if I'll ever make enough money from it.
Sure.
That it will be a key income stream. Okay, so do you invest in ICOs?
I have invested in a few.
A few.
Yeah.
What do you think of the ICO market?
So I was kind of a late entrant to altcoins, and the same was in respect to ICOs. Like I wasn't on the Ethereum ICO. I don't know if that's just my I'm too risk averse. I don't know, or I'm too much of a Bitcoin maximalist.
You're not a Bitcoin maximalist.
Okay.
Because you're buying other things. You either are or you aren't.
I'm trading. I don't know. I just never saw myself as somebody who would know enough to invest in a project that would go somewhere.
Right. Okay.
But it turns out it doesn't matter. So things like Tezos, just my ability to predict how well a project's going to hit the market. Like, I just felt like I wasn't able to do that, and I didn't want to risk money. But it turns out, like I said, it didn't matter. Everything went to the moon, and I missed the boat on most of those.
Yeah.
But I'm not sour about it. I'm happy that people are able to speculate. I think it's kind of hilarious that, especially back to Tezos, what's going on is like, people invested all this money, and you can't expect people to be motivated when they have billions of dollars or millions of dollars. Like,
yeah,
if you have, it's like buying a cow for free. It's like, I have the cow, I have the milk. Why would I don't need to do it. I don't need to make the cheese. I have everything I need.
Yeah.
Right? I could buy more cows with the amount of money I have if you're an ICO. So that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Which is why Vitalik introduced this like faucet system that like a DAO ICO hybrid, where you get paid over time, which a lot of ICOs were kind of doing already with the tokens, so that they aren't like flooding the supply with tokens. But they really need to do that with the Ethereum as well. That way they're at least motivated to create a product. Yes, you can create garbage products that go to market and fail, but to never create a product, which is what most of these ICOs are, they just have ideas and they're just doing things.
Potentially, though, like, I think the learning exercise of ICOs is going to be very similar to the .com.
Yeah.
You could raise money very easily early on. We had the crash, most things failed, and now it's quite hard. You have to come with a product. I think ICOs are going to struggle to raise money, after... I still think we have a bigger crash coming. I think they'll struggle, and therefore they'll have to, the ones people would be interested in, the ones who've created a product already. So for me, it's just a repeat of what we went through with .coms.
Yeah, so things I invested in had a product already. I wasn't like preying on a hope and a dream that they're going to make something and it's going to succeed. And the big thing with all these ICOs is they're trying to create a network effect that is just never going to happen for them to succeed. Like, it might be a great idea, but they're just not going to get the network effect. Things like EOS, like huge red flags on EOS, like their year-long raise, the fact that they haven't really done anything. Like, they have all these devs and these commits and GitHub, whatever. You're an EOS maximalist, you can say whatever you want. But when you're listening to this pitch from Brendan Bloomer or whoever, it's like they're saying all these big words. They're saying, we're going to kill Ethereum, we're going to be faster and better and bigger and whatever. But it's like, until you actually do something, I can't take your word for anything. Yes, I can speculate on the chart, but I'm not going to invest just to invest.
It's funny enough, the EOS one, like, if you look at EOS, Tron, Icon, all of these ones, Tezos, they all are exciting and concerning at the same time. Like, the thing about EOS is the huge raise it's a huge war chest. Yeah.
Especially if you're an Ethereum killer and you're holding all this Ethereum, it's like you can advantageously just dump and punish the Ethereum price.
There is that.
There isn't an incentive for that if you're holding a bunch of Ethereum, but if you're trying to pump your own coin and dump on Ethereum, it's like, look at us, we're better.
If that's their plan, which that had never crossed my mind, I would have thought they would have sold off some beforehand to be holding USD. But the argument I've heard is that they'll have a huge war chest to bring devs onto the EOS platform.
For sure. And if they can poach people from Ethereum if they're smart, right?
Devs build your crypto kitties on EOS and see what happens. At the same time, I do have, because I have concerns about Ethereum. It wasn't able to handle crypto kitties really.
Sure.
What happens when we've got hundreds of dApps as successful as that? It just feels like it's going to be a complete embarrassing failure of a 150 billion supercomputer, or whatever it is. Do you ever worry about that?
For sure, which is why I don't hold a lot of Ethereum.
Right, okay. But on the chart, it looks good.
Right, I can chart it, I can trade it, I can say I think it's going to go to wherever, but long term, I'm not a holder of Ethereum like I'm a holder of Bitcoin.
Right.
From a scaling perspective just alone. And the CryptoKitties thing is super interesting because just like XRP and there's these newsletters and bouncers in LA and Vegas and whatever, it's getting people exposed to cryptocurrencies. So bringing more people into the fold. Yeah, most of them are going to lose money or whatever, but in 2013, 14, when I was talking to people about Bitcoin, they're just like, what the hell is that? You're crazy. But now I can go pretty much anywhere and people know something about crypto,
So let me ask you something. Just going back to because you say you trade on charts. and you have like suspicions about what moves markets. Like, I don't know the answer to this. I have my suspicions, but do you believe the market moves based on everyone who's buying and selling and what's happening, or do you believe it's based on a few small people moving the market in the cycles they choose?
I mean, I don't think there's definitely an invisible hand who's doing something.
Yeah.
People with more money than God doing stuff. I don't know if they're involved in altcoins specifically. There's evidence of that.
But on Bitcoin?
Sure. I mean, it happens. It'll happen anywhere. The market's not that big. And the more down we go, the smaller it gets. If you look at like 2015, most of that was arguably a couple people.
Right.
Just pushing price constantly. I mean, we're seeing that a little bit now. If you look at, there's this article somebody wrote, very conspiratorial.
The cartel.
Yeah, the cartel.
Yeah. So it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And then I thought conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
But he called a 95% drop at 20K.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible, right? But it's like sarcasm. Sarcasm always has a bit of truth in it. And I think these conspiracy theories always have a little bit of truth to them.
Yeah.
Like with the Willy bot thing, like people discredited that back in 2013, 2014, when all that stuff was going down, and the evidence was very clear that was happening. It's like,
Didn't it just get admitted to or something?
There was basically this like report. The evidence was insurmountable that it was happening. And then,
Willybot was it like a spoof trade?
no, so it was just buying coins.
Wash trading? Was it wash trading?
No, I wouldn't say it was wash trading. I'm the wrong person to ask. But
right, okay.
I don't think it was wash trading. I don't think it was spoofing. It was, to some degree, buying Bitcoin with money nobody had. So it was just moving the price. So whether or not that's spoofing, I don't think so. But
Right, okay.
I'm the wrong person to talk about that sort of thing.
So what did you make of the cartel article?
Yeah, so I feel like there's definitely some entity pushing price down, and that's beyond my bullish bias. But something's going on. It seems very weird, whether it's people selling for taxes. You know, he showed that one chart where it's like every so often there's a huge market sell after every pop-up. I don't know what's going on. I just try to stay objective and trade the chart, but the other part of my brain is like, maybe there's something to that, you know?
Right, but based on the fact that 75% of your portfolio you're not trading, long term,
sure,
you must be bullish.
Of course.
Yeah.
You can't look at, it's just supply demand. I mean, you can't look at, there's 20 million people signed up for Coinbase or something?
Yeah, and if they all wanted one Bitcoin,
right.
There's not enough.
I mean, that's like Kool-Aid drinking to that point. But yeah, exactly. Like, all these people have to buy something at some price, whether it's an ICO or not an ICO, but a token on Coinbase, whatever it is.
So do you not, like, when other people are worrying, and even me, in for like 14, 15 months, are you not worrying because it's just a cycle, it's going to go back up, you just have no worries?
Sure, like it might, in 4 years we might be at 10K, but just like sitting through 2014, 2015, like I wasn't concerned. I've never been as fundamentally bullish on Bitcoin as I am now, based on things like the Lightning Network, scalability, privacy, which is coming, which has been sort of neglected these past years. Okay,
so that's quite interesting, because I saw a post on Medium. You might have seen the same post. It was like things coming up on Bitcoin.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, side chains, drive chains.
It's a new one for me, but sure.
I hope I haven't made that up.
No, it sounds plausible. I don't know.
But I saw in that also privacy.
Yeah.
And it looked like it might be optional privacy, a bit like Zcash. I mean, I'm not saying the technical implementation is the same. Yeah. But are we talking about private transactions here? Like untraceable transactions? Right, yeah. So there's like, I don't really know the specific differences off the top of my head, but there's confidential transactions, CT, and there's private transactions. For me, Monero is more of a confidential transactions thing. Yeah. I don't know like the hard line of like private versus confidential. If you can be private and confidential, I don't know. But ring signatures, Monero, like that's the solution. Yeah. I'm super bullish on Monero. I just can't hold it off of a hardware wallet, so I'm not going to hold it. Very soon you can do.
Right. Okay. Yes. So yes, privacy is super important. Privacy is it's undermined, not undermined, but people just don't understand like how important I think it is.
Yeah.
And it's coming around very quickly. How important that's going to be. But there's things like Zcash, which are, I'm so anti Zcash because there's no such thing as like optional privacy. You know?
Yeah, and I listened to the interview with Zuko on Laura Shin's Unchained, and she challenged him on some like key issues, and he didn't have a strong answer.
No.
Like she explained it's like a Sudoku puzzle in that you've got little
Which
bits of
is
information.
ZK snarks basically, but
Yeah.
Or zero knowledge proofs. But.
Yeah. But I guess the thing about privacy with Bitcoin that I don't know if it concerns me, but when people talk about the next coin to go on Coinbase, right?
Sure.
In my head, it will never be Monero because of KYC issues.
Yeah.
But if Bitcoin introduces private transactions, then how is that any different?
Yeah.
And now, is that going to put us into a whole new crappy regulatory space, or are we just going to say, well, Bitcoin can do it because it's Bitcoin, but nobody else can?
Yeah, I mean, there's this theory that Coinbase is going to list whatever they can list. So if Bitcoin starts deviating from that, they're just going to not accept that thing, whatever that is. So if Bitcoin goes in the private direction and they just can't from a regulatory perspective, they just won't. So they'll just keep. It's like the SegWit 2x argument.
Wow.
I mean, they'll just fork off. They'll do whatever.
So Bitcoin could come off Coinbase.
So I've said that before, and people thought it was crazy. But
no. But that. As soon as I read that, I was like, well, Coinbase gets a lot of bad press and and I actually think, do you know what? This is a hard job they're doing. I think they're doing a pretty great job. I mean, I like them.
I don't know about great, but they're doing a job.
Well, I think they're the biggest exchange in the world, in some ways, right?
Okay.
In terms of registered users.
Yeah.
They have never been hacked, right?
Not directly, but they've been through like a replay attack through Ethereum Classic.
Yeah.
But they've never been hacked that we know of.
And they are clearly they clearly care about the law and regulation and following the regulatory process. So as soon as I heard about privacy on Bitcoin, I was like, well, Coinbase will just remove it, and that would be a very, very bullish scenario for Bitcoin Cash, because suddenly Bitcoin Cash becomes the Bitcoin of Coinbase.
Right, if they don't decide to go the privacy direction.
I almost think they wouldn't, though, in that case.
I don't know. Who knows?
Do you have views on Bitcoin Cash?
Who doesn't have views on Bitcoin?
Okay, so what are your views on Bitcoin Cash?
I think it's all puppet masters, just complete sham, all of it.
Complete sham.
Yeah, just I don't hold any. I sold it at the top when it pumped on some news. I don't know. When it was listed on like Korean exchanges or something. So I don't hold any. I don't plan on it. I definitely am have a strong aversion to talking about it because I don't want to promote it. I don't want to talk about the TA. I don't want to talk about the fundamentals. I don't want to talk about the dev team. Nothing.
Right. But in terms of scaling, then you have no issue with off-chain scaling. You're obviously a smart guy, so you probably research this stuff. You're like, Lightning Network is no problem. You don't care about the original white paper or all those arguments.
So the Lightning Network SegWit thing, I don't understand fully as far as like an inability to recall your transactions if the witness is removed, whatever. I don't understand on a technical level to really, which a lot of people are going to say, oh, you don't know, you can't speak about it intelligently. Why should we even care about your opinion? Okay, so whatever, that's fine.
Yeah, but you know at that point, I think I always have a counter argument. It's like, I don't know how I can phone my son on an iPhone the other side of the planet. I don't know how it works, but I would trade Apple stock. So that's a weak argument for me.
Okay.
I don't think you have to understand how the blockchain works to trade.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that argument specifically, I feel like I should have an intelligent counterpoint to that I just don't understand enough.
I don't think you need it.
Okay.
But fair enough.
Yeah. Scaling off chain is fine. Scaling with Lightning Network is fine. It's not owned by Blockstream. There are plenty of evidence to suggest that it isn't. So I'm not concerned. I'm glad there was a divorce. Factions, were formed. They split. They went through a war. They had a schism. It was a clean cut relatively. But when you're trying to steal brand, trying to when you have a Bitcoin Cash wallet on Bitcoin.com and you're saying it's Bitcoin, like, there are issues with that.
There is that, and also when you're trying to rebrand Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah.
I think, one of the questions, if I was ever to meet them, put them to them, is if you don't like it to be called Bcash, why are you rebranding Bitcoin as Bitcoin Core? Nobody's ever called it that before. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you on those points, right? We haven't got through hardly any of my questions, and we've done our hour, and we're pretty good. So listen, look, I finished with a couple of good questions.
Yeah, whatever. We can keep talking. I know, like, podcasts should be like an hour, right? Like,
well, I know. We can keep going. Okay, so
one quick thing. I wanted to get back to ICOs.
Oh, yeah, go, shoot. Yeah.
So for me, I'm always thinking about, like, from a biology evolutionary standpoint, just because that's my background. So I see, like, altcoins as a mutation in the system.
Okay.
And there was this mutation, and there was this explosion of stuff, and then things fell to the wayside that weren't an advantageous mutation for fitness as far as altcoins that did something, right?
Right.
So once there was an ICO on Omni or whatever it was, whatever the ICO first one was, you can argue that, like colored coins, somebody saw that and thought, oh, I can do something with this. And then we got Ethereum, we get ERC20, blah, blah, blah. And now we're seeing the same thing, another one of these cycles with airdrops and forks, right? Yeah. So the mutation that was ERC20 hit an impasse, which is like, how do we get listed on an exchange? There's a million of us, right? What's a brilliant way to do that is just fork or airdrop, and then exchanges are more likely to list you, right? Mm-hmm. So then, but now there's a million of those, so exchanges are becoming a little less ready to just list anything they want.
Right.
So we're going to keep seeing these evolutions of ways for people to just pre-mine whatever and get money, right? So that's just my thoughts on ICOs.
Free money.
Yeah.
Okay, so new investor comes into the market.
Uh-huh.
They've missed all the bullshit that we've been through over the last few months. They want to get involved. What advice would you give to someone new coming in right now?
Try to spend your time learning about the differences between traditional systems and cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm.
So back to fundamentals. Start there. Figure out if you think that fundamentally cryptocurrencies are better or worse than what we have now, and if you see it as a potential for the future. I think that's number one.
Mm-hmm. And do you think they're better?
I think they're better. That's why I'm here, right?
Do you spend crypto?
I do.
So, oh, you do? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So a lot of people, like, I'm the opposite of a lot of people, which are, I'm going to hold it, I'm never going to spend it, blah, blah, blah. Uh-huh. But when you make all your money in crypto, like, you have no choice.
Okay.
You have to spend crypto. Like, I don't have a job, really, that pays me in USD or fiat.
So how are you spending crypto? Like, in what kind of ways?
Sometimes it's directly. So Litecoin, like I spent Litecoin to buy those sweaters from that one website, those ugly sweaters, which is funny. But yeah, so I'll just spend it directly, or I'll just cash it out on Coinbase and spend it through cash in my bank account. You know?
Yeah. Okay.
Like, there aren't enough rails directly from Bitcoin to, like, grocery shopping. Like, I want to, like, I can use Gift for Whole Foods or whatever, but if I want to go to certain places, I just have to do that.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I'm not. I don't get it. It's like these people, like, never spend crypto, hold it forever. It's like, no, I'm not going to die a holder. I'm going to spend my money. I'm not going to do stupid shit with it, but I'm going to spend it for, cost of living. What else am I supposed to do?
Okay.
But I'm not everybody. I understand. That's just the way it is.
But why do you prefer, like, the experience of spending it? Why is that better for you?
So for me, like, using a credit card or a debit card is always a better experience than using cash.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with change. I don't have to worry about theft.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about losing it somewhere. I can keep track of it digitally, mobilely, electronically, wherever I am in the world. So all of that is also crypto. Crypto is like a debit card, basically. If you leave it on a park bench, someone can steal it, right? That's just how I see it.
So, but where's the step up? Like, because for me, so I bought a bunch of Dragon Mint miners, like 110. So it's not a small purchase.
Yeah.
And bought them from China.
Uh-huh.
Had to buy with Bitcoin.
Okay.
It was the transaction was confirmed in... No, sorry, I'm thinking the wrong one. Sorry, I bought S9s from Bitmain.
Uh-huh.
It was a $100,000 transaction.
Uh-huh.
It was confirmed in 8 minutes, and the fee was under $1.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a fucking use case there. Like that is a... I've got no idea how I would do that with a bank to China, right?
Exactly.
No idea at all. That was a use case. You and I go and have a beer after this.
Mm-hmm.
The experience of paying with crypto, even if they had a crypto terminal, wouldn't be as good as with a card, because the time to confirm, it just wouldn't be as good. So I've got one use case there that works and one that hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see a scenario where crypto beats every single card? Can you see the cup of coffee working?
Sure. I mean, that's Lightning Network, right? Or a network that no one uses, so
Right.
it's cheap and it doesn't need to scale because no one's using it.
Do you feel a responsibility to be supporting it by using it?
I do.
Yeah.
I definitely do. I don't know if that's because I've been in it so early. So I'll try not to dox myself too much, but like dealing with real estate people, I was like, hey, do you want to take some of rent / mortgage, whatever, in cryptocurrency? I just brought it up just to start the conversation. They weren't like super negative about it. They knew about it because they researched who I was by name, so they Googled me. They know what I do. But back in back to 2013, 2014, nobody wanted to talk about it. No, everybody thought I was crazy. You know? But that's changing. So yes, I feel a responsibility to spend it, to use it, because it's kind of why I'm here.
Right.
It is a better experience for me. Back to the confirmations thing. Zero confirmations is a bad idea, but I think there are ways around that with the Lightning Network that you can do it quickly. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously better for bigger transactions like a car, a house, $100,000 Bitmain S9 miner purchase. So yeah, things like merch through a website versus stuff like you said, a beer at the bar. But
I mean, I think that the website works. You don't even mind just sitting there, just waiting for a second. You can do other things. It is the I want to pay and leave and walk away scenario, which I don't think.
But it doesn't. That's the other thing is it doesn't need to be the best thing for everything.
No, that's true. That's true. And you know what? And in time, we will get there.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote an article and I was saying there was a long time where I ignored the pay by PayPal button, but now. When you're on like a website, I just put my card in. I don't know why. Yeah. And then eventually the experience with PayPal got better and better to the point where it's like, actually, this is even easier.
Right.
So I assume the same will happen with crypto.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, I interrupted there because I asked you to tell me one thing. So you said about learning and knowledge.
Oh, for new people.
Yeah, for new people. What else?
Yeah, just try to absorb as much as you can. Try to avoid like politics, which is going to be impossible. I tell new people to spread your seed widely, so invest in a few things that look promising to you after you sort of build this knowledge base. I think Bitcoin is the best network effect. I think it has the best devs in the world.
Yep.
I think it's going places. Yes, Ethereum has more devs, more people experimenting. I tell people to avoid like active day trading if they're new, which is hard. Especially if you're in America and you're not used to this like exchange rate thing. I think that's another reason why I got sucked in. It's like I could be making money here if I'm buying and selling, And Americans generally aren't really used to that because it's the dollar. The dollar is just the dollar. And America's big and we spend the dollar everywhere. It's not like Europe or even pre-Euro where things are fluctuating from country to country. I would seek out thought leaders who knew stuff. People like Andreas, people like James D'Angelo on YouTube. Just people who can explain the technology clearly to help understand it. I mean, and that's partly why I started like this YouTube thing is just giving back to people to like help people like me in the beginning, like what the hell is going on here? Somebody you can trust who's not trying to just take your money. So
I think everybody should watch everything Andreas has done.
Yeah. The moment he goes to the dark side, which if you don't die a hero, you live to be a villain, right? So it's going to happen eventually. But right now, the guy, even back for years now, he's been just an amazing resource for the community.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool. And I assume your DMs are closed.
And Twitter, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been closed for a long time.
But like, how can people follow you?
Sure. Well, you can always message me on Twitter. I hesitate to say you can message me on Telegram, but you can. It's the same. Carpe Noctem. Follow me on Twitter. Brave New Coin. I write articles. I try to write 3 a week, but it's tough.
Yeah.
What else do I do? YouTube. I try to do a video at least once a week, but that's tough too.
Cool. Well, I'll stick this all out in the show notes.
Sure.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you,
This is amazing.
man.
Really
Thank you.
great chat. Hopefully we'll do it again one time in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Thank you. So cool. How was that then? Did you enjoy it? Was it good to get another trader back on the show? I was glad to do it. I really enjoyed the chat with Josh. You know, I've mentioned I don't want the podcast to just be traders, but I think to mix it up between traders and techies and different people in the space is a really good thing. So, yeah, it was really great to chat to Josh. I do want to just say thanks to him. He took me out for dinner with his girlfriend after the interview, which saved me from a boring night in the hotel. And I hope next time I'm in Washington, I will get to meet up with him again, because I could probably talk to this guy for hours. If you do want to support the show, as I mentioned earlier in the intro, please do leave us a review on iTunes. It really, really does help. You can also follow me on social media. Shout out to me if you've got any questions. I will always try and get back to you if I can. And yeah, just support the show as much as you can by sharing it out with your friends. Okay, listen, I hope you all have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you soon.